There's a number of different ways to approach the process of training and education. But years ago, and I'd struggled with this for a long, long time, trying to figure out why it was so difficult to get people to listen, to recognize that they're trapped and that what they're doing ain't working. And it just never, I could never figure it out. Inmates will go through a program and go back to doing the same old thing. Just leave all the information in the book. And I got involved with some ladies in Virginia years ago that were experts in adult learning. But there's some things with adult learning that are important to kind of consider. And when you look at the people you work with and look at your community and your family, our first tendency as human beings is to lock out new information. You don't lock it out because it's good or bad. You lock it out because you're always trying to keep it together in here. And if someone comes to us and suggests that we don't have it together, that's not a good way to start a conversation. You know, it's a good way to start a conflict. You need to be able to get through that lockout process. So we use in most of our training programs a lot of little exercises, cards that have you check your awareness. And, you know, some people use humor, you know, and a little girl was, mama got sick and her daddy was ill and lost his job and they were destitute, and she wrote a letter to God and sent the letter, said, my mama's sick, daddy lost his job, could you send us $100? Mailed a letter to God, and it wound up on the Postmaster General's office in Washington, D.C. And he opened the letter and read it from this little girl and touched his heart a little bit, so he took a $5 bill out, put it in an envelope, sent it back to this young woman from the Postmaster General. And she got the letter and opened it up and got the $5 bill, and then she wrote another letter to God. She said, "Dear God, the next time you send me $100, don't send it through Washington, D.C." And so if you get through the lockout process, then we have a tendency to go through a second step. We start thinking in our minds of all the other people we know that need it. And you kind of, boy, I wish my wife was here. She really needs this. Or my husband. Or did the managers go through this? Why aren't they using it? You know, and so we always are thinking about other people. I used to do a program, and it was a nice hotel. It was a 2-week program, and a lot of people bring their spouse, and I would be in to teach my session. At the first break, somebody would get out on the house phone and call their spouse. Get down here, the guy's talking about you. You need to hear this stuff. So we're always thinking about other people. And then the third step is, in adult learning, is where it really takes place. It's a process of self-discovery. If you create a non-threatening learning experience, people begin to discover things that make sense to them, but they discover it themselves. And when they discover it, they own it. And so this process is an adult learning model that's based on self-discovery. There is no right and wrongs in it. There is no, this is the only way to do it. It's, does it work for you? And you discover things that work for you and you start using it. And so, you know, that's important to understand, because we have a tendency to force people to go to programs. And we force the training, and people will go through it because they get off the job, you know, and they get sit down for a day, but then they leave, and they just leave the training in the room. So you've got to discover yourself that applies to you. Let me talk for just a moment about change and how change impacts our awareness. There's a process of change called incremental change. It's one of our greatest strengths, also one of our greatest weaknesses. It's our ability to gradually and incrementally get used to things. At first it might bother you, but if you don't have control, or if you don't take control, you will gradually and incrementally get used to it. It becomes normal, accepted behavior. You have a tendency to lock out information that conflicts with that. So ask yourself the question, what have I gotten used to? You know, how do I treat people I work with? What's our relationship look like? Those things that are important to you as an individual and important to you as a company, and important to you as a community. Because when we get used to it, we just kind of lock out our environment, and things just take place without our awareness.